This is Sonja here with the Sci-fi Adventures channel, and in this video I wanted to just kind of pay tribute to my grandfather, Lou Tabaco, he has passed on, but he was a science fiction writer, and he's a lot of the reason why I am now writing my story Time Tracks. And why I even wanted to attempt writing a story, a science fiction story. But my grandfather wrote really many stories, and I just wanted to share one of them here today with you guys. And this is one called The Harley Helix. But before I read it, I also want to say a special thank you to my bestie friend, Mary, for getting me the story. I had mentioned this to her, and she was on it so fast and made sure I had the story so that, I could share it. So thank you, Mary, for doing that. And it took me a while to get this video out, but finally, here we are. And I'm going to go ahead, and again, this is called The Harley Helix, and this is written by my grandfather, Lou Tabaco, and it is just a short story. I believe it's back in 1959, if I have my date right here. So we're going back a ways, but here we go. In 1974, Harley Lambert, quite by accident, stumbled on the EK effect. Had his education been more orthodox, he would have known better than to string together so weird an assortment of coils, wires, resistors, and vacuum tubes to achieve a result that was already adequately performed by a 98-cent gadget. Had he been anything but a dilettante, he would never have made the mistake of connecting up the fantastic array in reverse. Be that as it may, when he pulled the switch, a surge of power blew the side out of his laboratory. His insurance company paid promptly enough for the damage, but the adjuster for the insurance firm suggested pointedly to Harley that any further meddling with explosive mixtures of any kind would result in the cancellation of his policy. Harley, however, had a stubborn streak, and since Harley's Helix, as it later came to be known, was basically undamaged, it was a simple matter to set up makeshift safeguards and repeat the experiment. This time, though the wall was again blown out, Harley obtained some interesting reading. No matter how often he checked and rechecked, the result came out the same. About 60 watts of electrical power had been fed into the apparatus, and a few thousand kilowatts had erupted from the other end. At this point, Harley had the surprising good sense to call in expert advice and assistance, and in less than a year, Harley's Helix was perfected. A model the size and price of a typewriter could supply a good-sized city's power requirements indefinitely, and this meant that mankind had finally managed to violate the first law of thermodynamics: something from nothing, unlimited power, free for the asking. Now, if Harley had been an ordinary man, he would have done one of two things. He could have sold his invention to the highest bidder and watched it gather dust in the vault of some utility holding company, or he could have found backing and marketed the device and eventually have become the richest, most powerful man on earth. Harley, however, was an idealist. He gave the Helix free and unencumbered to the government. For a few years, there was widespread unemployment and general economic disorder. In its cumbersome way, however, the government eventually effected the changeover, with doles and subsidies and overlapping orders of innumerable commissions. And after the initial panic had passed, a golden era dawned. Now Harley really hit his stride. He rushed happily from country to country, distributing the Helix and preaching peace and brotherhood and death to the profit motive. Within 10 years, every other device in the world for producing power was replaced by a Harley Helix. The countries of the world joined hands in friendship. True, there were some pessimists who maintained that nature never offered something for nothing, and warned against the danger of channeling the entire planet's power requirements through a single unknown and untested device. Since most of these gloomy gusses were hard-headed businessmen, at least some of whom had owned stock in now defunct power companies, little attention was paid to their warnings. Then, one day, a strange-looking craft flashed from the sky and landed on the White House lawn. Its speed and maneuverability were such that there was no question as to its extraterrestrial origin. From the moment it landed, it was surrounded by television cameras, and the people of Earth sat breathlessly by their sets, waiting for their first glimpse of the outsiders. Finally, the door to the strange craft opened, and an almost disappointingly man-like creature stepped out. True, there were minor differences, like the 7-fingered hands and the purple tinge of his skin, but otherwise the alien looked very human. A delegation of the world's foremost scientists and statesmen advanced with outstretched palms in a gesture of universal friendship. The alien stepped back into his ship for a moment and then reappeared carrying a black box trailing 4 wires. 2 of these he attached to his head with some kind of anode paste, and then motioned for one of the delegates to step forward. There was a hurried consultation, and then the assembled crowd cheered as Harley Lambert stepped forward with a smile, and without a tremor adjusted the other set of anodes to his forehead. A hush, and I have to turn the page, a hush fell over the vast assemblage as he began to speak. Welcome to Earth. We are glad you waited until now to contact us. Only in the last few years have we become worthy of contact with the other races of the galaxy. Only in the last few years have we learned to live with each other unselfishly. Though we undoubtedly have much to learn from you, we also have much to give. Welcome to Earth. The crowd cheered wildly at the conclusion of Harley's greeting. All those present stood straighter and raised their heads, feeling proud and noble and altruistic. The cheering subsided slowly as the alien raised his hand. His voice rang out in loud and unmistakable tones from the black box. I don't know anything about all that. I'm a collector for galactic utilities. For 3 time units, you've been drawing on our power, and we are not, after all, in business for our health. I've come to deliver your bill. So there we go. And yes, that's my Grandpa Lou in a nutshell. He writes a science fiction story that is a big joke, but a very well written one with a punchline. But you know what? My grandpa wrote it. I'm proud of it. Proud of him.
It's fantastic.
And it's a great story. And Mom, that's Mom here, you guys. She's
Yeah.
helping me make the video, and she's
Yeah.
doing the sound and stuff. So anyway, that is the end of my grandpa's story, and I do hope you guys enjoyed it. It appeared in a magazine. We're going to show the picture of it when we make the video, right, Mom?
Right.
On the video.
Right.
Called Fantasy and Science Fiction Magazine, I believe is the name of it. But
Yeah.
we show a picture of it, and this came out July. I think it's 1959, and the magazine, I love this stuff, was 40 cents. Gotta love it. Back in the day, you gotta love it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was just for a little bit of fun, but also to honor my grandfather, and just to say, you know, this is part of my heritage, and you know, my love of science fiction goes all the way back to my childhood. All of this stuff is fascinating to me. So, and I grew up with it. So I do feel really sort of blessed to have had that kind of opportunity growing up. And before I close, yeah, I'll just add that I really did have the unique chance to be around writers because my grandfather ran MidwestCon. And so for any of you really hardcore sci-fi buffs out there, you'll know what MidwestCon is, but that was a science fiction convention. He ran it for many years. I don't know how many exactly, but that gave me, growing up, the opportunity to really hang out with a lot of writers and really sort of interesting people. So I'm grateful that I had that opportunity. So anyway, did you want to add anything, Mom, before we wrap it up? I agree, it's a fun story.
Yeah, it was really good.
It is. It's totally fun.
You did good.
Okay, thanks, Mom. And okay, guys, well, I'll be back with more videos. I'm gonna get the second chapter of Time Tracks out with Mom's help, hopefully really soon. I've got the first chapter out here on the channel. If you haven't had a chance to hear my story Time Tracks, check that out. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. And until next time, this is Sonja with Sci-Fi Adventures, signing off for now.